Amazon added a new ability within its advertising console for rule adjustments. And they've had this before with budget rule adjustments, which essentially allows you to increase your budget during specific time frames. But now they have added one layer deeper into both bids, but also automating the aspect of adding targets into new campaigns. So let's look at this. This is the new rules section under Amazon. Essentially, it will show all of your current budget rules if you have any. If, again, budget rules also consider dayparting, where you take and you try and increase budget during specific times of day where you're going to get the most amount of clicks. Well, under this, we now have rule types for bids. Bids are going to work exceptionally similarly to the budget before. So if we actually look, budget is going to be based off schedule or performance, whereas bids are going to be based solely off of the actual schedule, and you can choose the actual campaigns that's going against. So very, very similarly, this is going to be a exact situation that we had when budget adjustment first came out. It's going to work the exact same way with day parting as well, where you can actually choose specific start and end times. So if you wanted to not have a really high bid during the middle of the night when no one is really going to be buying, you could do that and instead only set up, and I would advise you to set up bid adjustments for the specific times of days when you're going to have the most amount of competition. Now, secondarily, we have our targeting, and this is the cooler one of the two now that we have set up, specifically meaning that we can now take automatic ad group campaigns where we then set up a performance filter for these campaigns. So let's say that we want to have a filter where we take any type of keyword or target out of these campaigns where it has gotten greater than 10 clicks in, let's say, the last 7 days, and we want it to have, at a minimum, a one order, one or greater, which means that essentially we're going to be saying around a 10% plus conversion rate for this kind of target. And we can even get granular as to figuring out things such as like our cost per click. We could do just our conversion rate. We could do our overall ROAS as well. But for right now, we'll stick with just the greater than 10 clicks and orders is greater than 1 over the last 7 days. And we're going to be looking at adding targets, add as a specific keyword. So these, again, are targets that we are finding in auto campaigns. And more specifically, one thing to note is that you can only choose auto campaigns that have one product target on them. So if you have an auto campaign within these ad groups, and we can actually go in here, we'll see this one, for instance, where you'll see it's ineligible because this ad group has more than one. So we can only do single product targeting at any given time. So we'll come in here and we can actually add this as specific match types now. Now, I'm not going to suggest that you should automatically just add willy-nilly match types. In fact, I would typically recommend if you're going to automate these kind of match types, instead of pulling a bulk file and doing this, to do an exact campaign. Now, for bidding, it will be the same as the default bid selected in the ad group automatic campaign. We can increase that bid if we want to by a certain amount, but we do not have to. And then from there, you can actually choose to add it to a manual ad group automatically. So once we actually have this, we could then add in any type of our manual ad groups for this exact one. So this is a really, really cool new tool that Amazon has allowed for new automations. It basically improves things such as auto catch-all campaigns. It improves things such as our gold panning campaigns, where you can now do keyword research utilizing auto campaigns and the impressions and the clicks you are getting from those to then immediately start capitalizing on it from an exact phrase or broad without ever actually needing to go into Seller Central. Now, grain of salt with all of this is the fact that now you're just going to be having campaigns and ad groups that are adding random products in without you getting the second chance to actually look through it to see if it's actually a good match. So I would be very, very particular in how you are adding in these new match types. Again, I would probably go from an exact match to start with most of these and then see if you want to add it in as a phrase or a broad, simply because otherwise you may end up with a situation where something works really, really well in that auto campaign simply because you're only hitting on it. I would also typically, for performance duration, do 30 days instead of the 7 days. So you're going to set this up where you have essentially the conversion rate that you want. In this case, I basically created my own at 10% over the course of 7 days. But instead, I would likely do over the course of 30 days and then look at doing something like a ROAS where you want to hit, let's say, a 2, 3, 4 ROAS on any given keyword at any given time. Now, secondarily, you can, again, get a lot more granular with this, right? We can look at our click-through rate. We can look at our cost per click. What is our click-through rate on this? Do we want a click-through rate typically greater than, something like 0.5%? Uh, yeah, typically speaking, this is what I would consider to be a good click-through rate is 0.5%. So we could add that in, and we can even get down to something such as our cost per click if we have a standard that we tend to try and meet. Let's say our standard is $1, we can add that in, and then we can choose that based on specific ad groups and add them into ones that make sense for that product specifically. So I think this is a really, really cool way to find new keyword targets. It's allowing Amazon's auto campaigns to be more than just kind of a set and forget, even though this is a little bit more of a set and forget in my opinion. But as we know, advertising is anything but a set and forget.